Hello everybody, Hellcrux here, and welcome to another Mercenary Thoughts from the Inner Sphere. And today we're going to be talking about the Ha Otoko, which is, what, the Blade Man or something? Yes, the Blade Man in Japanese, from Clan Diamond Shark. Yes, here in episode 422, we're going to be talking about the Ha Otoko. It is a 65-ton mech. It's a 460, so basically it's kind of like a second-line mech. Primitive technology, nothing really fancy about it in the original version. This originally came out in it's in the 3060, but it's something that was designed to basically a stopgap due to the fact that resources might be kind of low, so they built something pretty easy to work with. All right, so it has, like I said, it's a 460 moving mech, so nothing special about it. Does not have XL engines, does not have Indo steel, nor does it come with, I believe, no ferrofibrous armor either. So yeah, it's pretty much a bog standard mech. Nothing fancy about it. It does have 13 tons of slab armor to go with its weapons. Now, the good thing is that Clan missile launchers don't have a minimum range like you have on the Inner Sphere version, so yeah, it can fight direct fire right up in your face with these things. So, weapons. It has two LRM-20s, one in the right torso, one in the left torso, with, I believe, was it 3 tons of ammo each? So it's got 18 turns of firing. Then we have an LRM-10 in the right arm and LRM-10 in the left arm with a ton of ammo each. Yep. So you got roughly 8 tons of ammo to go with these 4 launchers. Which one thing begs, it's like I don't understand is why you have an LRM-10 and an LRM-20 on this, it's like, if they would have dropped the LRM-20s down to 15s, they could have upgraded the 10s to 15s. So you had to be carrying around 4 LRM-15s and share the ammo amongst them. You know? Okay. Now, one of the other issues is it has 13 heat sinks, singles. Yeah. So we do have a slight heat problem, as your heat output is, geez, let's see. Oh, that adds up to 20. Yeah, you got 20. And you can dissipate 13. So if you run this thing and you fire everything, that's 25 heat, or no, 22. What am I thinking? You're still going to be going way up on the heat scale. Yeah, you're looking at 9. Yeah. Basically, you're kind of stuck firing the 2 LRM-20s and then basically doing your maneuvering around and then leaving the LRM-10s for something else. I don't know. So it doesn't behoove you to fire all your weapons because you're just going to be a slow moving. You fire at one turn, fire all the weapons, and if you run, you just want, it's 22 heat. Minus, it's 9 heat that you just went up, and if you look at it, you have a +1 modifier the next turn to fire and a -1 to your movement. So yeah, not a very good thing to do to yourself. Not at all. Not smart at all to go that route. So yeah, I don't understand why they just didn't put double heat sinks on in the first place. They could have gone with just 10 doubles or even just 11 doubles, and that would have taken care of, everything that they had to deal with. So yeah, that's something that just pops in my head right off the bat, is that you have some major drawback issues when it comes to heat dissipation. Like, yeah, you're going to cook yourself pretty quickly. Yeah, you might be able to dish out about 60 points of damage theoretically, because you're looking at missile launchers. Typically, the average amount of damage you're going to be putting out with each of the 20s is 12, and then 6s with the 10s. So you just went up 9 on the heat scale, maybe 8, roughly. even if you walked for that matter. And if you just sit there, you went up by 7. So you're already down the on the movement the next turns. So, and on an average, you're going to be doing roughly 12, 12, 6, 6. Yeah, that's not a lot. That's really 36 points of damage. That's, you know, to cook yourself for 36 points of damage. Yeah, it's not smart at all, especially when it comes to design. If they had just gone with doubles, okay, you could have thrown a couple tons into, let's say, a couple ER medium lasers or something of that nature just for some backup. So, yeah, it's things that pop in your head and going, okay. It's like, is this design really the best you could have done with? So, yeah, how are you going to use this thing? Basically, it's kind of a fire support mech that really isn't really good at being a fire support. Just think of it as a archer with some backup LRM-10s that you're not going to be using at all. So you're just going to be using the LRM-20s. And begs you to differ is like, why didn't they just make them all the same style launchers and then share ammo? You could have gone in with a slightly less ammo and then gone with the double heat sinks and turned it really into a pretty decent missile boat that, you know, can just sit around for quite a few turns. Well, I just see, I did that. Let's see if I dig this sucker up here. Yes, you got 4 LRM-15s, 13 double heat sinks, and oh geez, I put on a couple ER medium lasers, and the other thing I did is I gave it ferrofibrous armor. Yeah. So now you had, I put on 3 ER medium lasers, 13 double heat sinks, and I gave it ECM. Yeah. And it still comes out at 1788 battle value. And if you look at the battle value of the original version, let's see, the battle value is 1873. So, things that it makes you go, makes you wonder. Okay, I understand that the whole concept of trying to go with less resources. Maybe you were taking resources and using them from the inner sphere, you know, going that route because a single heat sink's a single heat sink. It doesn't matter if it's clan or not. So maybe that's what they were doing, is using resources from the inner sphere to help build their mechs. You know, going that route because there's nothing really fancy about it other than it's using clan weapons. So that's pretty much it. All right. And at 1873, you can sort of shoehorn it into a organization, into some type of lance. But you're going to be a second line mech to begin with, and your whole job is to pretty much, if you're in a cityscape, you can, or some type of heavy terrain, going the route of indirect fire, yeah. But still, you're probably not going to put a very decent pilot into one of these things because it's not overly effective when it comes to doing a lot of things. Now, I can see the LRM-10s, loading them up with like smoke rounds or thunder rounds, something of that nature where, okay, I'm going to look at an area, maybe put a ton of ammo each of the LRM-20s and do some aerial denial suppression, especially if you're like in a cityscape, looking at a crossroads that are a main thoroughfare that, you know, forces have to go through to get to the other side, dropping a bunch of, basically fast cam, putting artillery, mining the area so it, you know, forces them to go through and doing damage to their legs. Okay, I can see that is an option. Or if you have loaded up with smoke, laying down a smoke barrage to cover your forces moving in, especially if you have some toadies from some other mechs, running them up, laying down some suppression, prevent the enemy from hitting them, and allowing the infantry to move forward, or even your vehicles, especially like hell horses for that matter. You know, run a lot of vehicles. So kind of like that's the role I envisioned this mech having to be forced into and being used. Not really. It's like your primary weapon systems are going to be the LRM-20s for direct fire or indirect fire. The LRM-10s with this design is some type of, like I said, suppression weapon systems or denial. So there, that's pretty much how I'm look at it for this mech. All right. Now there's a couple other versions of this mech. Now there's the HKO-1C. Now this one just takes it's like Clan Jade Falcon and the Draconians combined basically work together to design this one. And this is manufactured in Inner Sphere using Inner Sphere weapons and heat sinks and everything. But as a result, the 1C version, yes, it's using Inner Sphere weapons, but it has XL engines and okay, yes, double heat sinks. It has 10 double heat sinks. Finally, they put some double heat sinks on this thing. So you can dissipate 20. That's okay. That's not a big issue, but you're still looking at the same type of weapon systems, but now they're Inner Sphere. The heat isn't as a big deal because you can go 2 turns running it and firing all your weapons because you still got the 2 LRM-20s and 2 LRM-10s. You got 10 double heat sinks, so you can dissipate all the heat that comes off the weapon system. So your only heat increase is off your movement. And if it's going to be a true fire support mech, and in this case, it can go into the role of being a fire support mech where you can go 4 turns or 2 turns firing everything before you have any type of heat issues. Moving it up on the heat scale, especially when you hit that 5 threshold. If you're smart, you don't want to do such things to yourself. I've always said, manage your heat well. There's times, yes, where theoretically you might want to pump up the heat, but to me, that's very few times that will ever happen. Now, there have been times my heat's gone up because of somebody hit me with Infernos or Flamers for that matter. And if you ever played any of the games I ever played with, it's like Flamers and Inferno rounds are pretty prevalent because we like to cook everything and burn things to the ground. So that's kind of the scorched earth policy. So yeah, that does happen. But for the most part, the 1C is going to be looking at, we move more into the direct fire weapon systems. It'd been really nice for this mech to had some clan weapons, but when you're looking at the 1288 for battle value, that one, I can see that one being shoehorned into a second line star with some other second line mechs, and it would fit right in. It's basically an Inner Sphere mech with some clan goodies. So yeah, not to worry too much about it. I can find some use for it. Now the next one is the 2 version. Okay, this one has clan tech. This came out in 3074. Is outfitted with some newer technology. All the original missile launchers are removed except for a single arm mounted LRM-10. This launcher retains a ton of ammo. And the left arm, complementing the LRM launcher in the right arm, has been giving a hyper assault Gauss rifle, or a HAG-30, with 4 tons of ammo. Okay. It also has a plasma cannon for providing some wonderful heat to some target. And then you have 4 ER medium lasers surrounded out, and you got XL fusion engines. This comes in at 2348 battle value. So, now this one is a mech that is looking at really hammering targets. This has moved away from being a second line mech to being a primary mech. And it's designed, with the HAG-30. You got plenty of ammunition to go with the HAG. So, yeah, that's something I would say pretty decent. And obviously, with the plasma cannon, you're looking at something of anti-infantry, anti-vehicle capability with that, just like giving them some wonderful crit potential just by superheating them pretty fast. And then the 4 ER medium lasers, that, you know, goes out to 15. It's like running around with 4 inner sphere heavy lasers with less heat. So yeah, that's it's not a bad backup, because you can do up to, you know, pretty much 58 points of damage with just those 2 weapon systems on board. And then with the LRM-10, once again, with the LRM-10, I'm thinking I might run that with like either smoke, or run it with, like I said, fast cam type of ammunition, where, you know, some aerial denial system where you're just laying down a barrage. It kind of dictates what kind of mission you're running. Is like if you're in a cityscape or something that's congested, where areas are limited access going down roadways or something like that. Oh yeah, I probably will be thinking about throwing some mines out there, especially if you're looking at some bridges or narrow road systems or cityscape. To start laying down a long line of barrage and say, hey, there's mines right here. They're going to know there's mines there. If you want to come through here, you're going to be taking some damage. You know, that's a good use of that LRM-10. Yeah, you got a single ton of ammunition. Yeah, might make good use of it. And there's a possibility you may want to run smoke with it, especially if you're running to any type of infantry to help support covering them. But I'm more inclined to either go with standard ammo or throwing out some mines. So that'd be kind of like how I'm looking at it. And your primary weapon system is at HAG 30 for tearing someone up. Yeah, it's like having an LRM 30, you know, basically, when it comes to looking at it, but with better range. Yeah. And when you get into 15, you're going to be hammered away with the ER medium lasers as your backup. Then you still got to worry about a little bit of heat issues with it still. That hasn't changed. Then we have the third version. This one has Endosteel as your primary chassis. The missile launchers and the arms have been replaced with an ER large laser, an ER medium laser, and you got Artemis fire control for the 2 LRM-20s. And then you have ECM to go with it, and then you have I think it's a pair of AP Gauss rifles to go for taking out infantry. This comes in at 2206. Now, not too bad. You got some decent range with the ER large laser and the medium laser. And then you got the pair of LRM-20s with Artemis with your ammo to go with that. This thing could stay in the battlefield for a long period of time. And this is a pretty decent fire support mech. And, you know, if you got 13 double heat sinks, yeah, you know, you can dissipate all that heat, because, you know, you're getting some off of the 2 LRMs, and then you have the, what do you call it? The, what do you call it? ER. Gosh, brain's locking up here. Yeah, you got the ER large laser. So, yeah, you can dissipate some decent amount of heat to handle that with your basic, your LRM 20s. So, you know, you got 6 each from the LRM 20s, and you add the heat from the ER large. Now, you can dissipate that and drive on as your fire support. Now, when things move into a little closer, the single ER medium laser is and the high AP Gauss rifles, depending if you want to throw those in, but you know, you're looking at that as optional. And when you're looking at upping your heat on the heat scale, it's like, all right, situation may dictate if you're going to throw those in or not. So, but your primary systems are going to be 2 LRM-20s and then your ER large. And the other ones are just like situation will dictate. And the way I kind of play, probably not going to be doing too much with them unless I have to take out some infantry with those Gauss rifles. So that's pretty much it when it comes to that. So And then we have the last version, which is the HR version. This came out in '77 from Clan Diamond Shark. This attempt to use inner sphere equipment rather than, and then they have the light fusion engine on board. So it's a little more survivable without the full XL engines. And then, so that they went a little on that. And then they had the inner sphere heat sinks. But with those, you know, they're taking up more space, obviously. And then it has the pair of LRM-20s, but it also has a mech mortar 8 in each arm. So they flopped out the two LRM-10s for mech mortars, and this comes in at $15.47. So it's a little cheaper, but you know, it's like they're throwing in some, you know, it's kind of like a mix and match, you know, a hyper, or as a hybrid, there we go, hybrid mech from the inner sphere and the clans, for trying to using a little bit of everything to make good use of it. So yeah, you got some equipment here and a little bit there, and they're trying to keep the costs down. I suppose if you're a clan that's a little short in the financial pocketbook, yeah, you're going to be using whatever assets you have. And it's like, especially if you've taken over some areas of the inner sphere, some factories, well, you might as well use them before you can figure out how to swap them over to clan tech. So if they're producing inner sphere tech, well, kind of make use of what you have and make a hybrid mech out of it. That's pretty much what they did. Not too bad for battle value, you know, like I said, $15.47, but it's going to be relegated to second line usage. You know, it's not going to be fancy. You're definitely not going to be throwing your best pilots in these things. And, you know, it's going to be security detail / patrol, you know, for areas behind the lines, taking on any type of raids or anything of that nature. Just getting in the way to slow down whatever force that's rampaging through the area long enough for the good guys, the good mechs, to show up and actually handle things. You know, they basically are just speed bumps. You know, cheap speed bumps. That's all they are. So that's pretty much it when it comes to this mech. Nothing fancy about it, literally, except for the one version. You got the 2 version with the hyper assault Gauss rifle. Yeah, that's too bad. And then you got the number 3 version that's running around with, you know, the good, it's basically the good stuff, as you could say. So you got 2 good versions, that kind of like version for the prime, and then you got a couple inner sphere versions when it comes to it. So good and bad, you know, there's a couple thumbs up, couple not so great. So it's something to look at. So give her a shot and see what. Tell me if you've used these things at all in any of your games. Let me know down below in the comments. So like and subscribe, everybody, and we'll see you in the next one. Elcrex out.